Hello students, today we are going to start another important topic of Civil Services main exam of History Optional, and the topic is Maurya's administration. Maurya, that is the name of a dynasty that was founded by Chandragupta Maurya with the help of his able Prime Minister Kautilya, also known as Chanakya Vishnugupta. And after uprooting the Nanda dynasty, the time period of this dynasty was from 321 BC to 185 BC. And the second term is the administration. That is the way of running government, institution, government. So how they would run the administration of the country, how they would run the government, that we have to discuss in the Maurya's administration. So before we start this Maurya's administration, we have to start it from a little bit earlier. That was the Vedic age. In Vedic age, in the earlier classes, we discussed that these Aryans, it's a disputed question whether they came from outside the country or the original inhabitant. But if we accept the Max Muller theory of German scholar, they came from Central Asia and settled in the northwestern part of the country, that was the area of the Sub-Sindhu, and they settled in small number of tribes. They were the semi-nomadic tribal people and settled in small number of tribes. And these tribes used to war with each other in order to have the possession. And the important possession during that particular time, they had the cows. So initially they started their wars for the cows, and later those wars started for the Rashtra, for the territories or the Janpads. So how the point was that this area that was the Chandragupta Maurya dynasty area, that was the Magad Empire. So and Magad was a Mahajanpad. So from where these Mahajanpads emerged, these Mahajanpads emerged from the Janpads. And to trace the history of these Janpads, we have to go to the Vedic age. In the Vedic age, the smallest unit of administration was the family. Number of families make one gram, number of grams make one vish, and vish make the tribe or the jan. And there were many jans, and every jan had their own ruler, and they used to war initially for the cows and later for the territories. And with the passage of time, the story that began in the 1500 BC, and what was the story? The story was to defeat one jan by the other jans, and in that process, the area of that territory, the area was increasing, and the number of the rulers decreasing. Take the example, if there were 10 kings, for example, a battle of 10 kings was also fought there. For example, a number of kings were there, and one king defeated the other king, and the area of the defeated king would merge with the area of the winner, that who won the war. So with the passage of time, what happened? The number of the rulers decreased and their area increased. And that story came to an end in 321 BC, when whole of the country, India, was under the grip of one particular ruler, Chandragupta Maurya of the Mauryan dynasty. That's how these Janpads converted into the Mahajanpads. So in that process, we started from the 1500 BC and came to an end by the 321 BC. Around in that time period of the 6th century BC, there were 16 Mahajanpads, and these Mahajanpads were evolved from the countless Janpads by defeating one Janpad defeated the other, and that's how their area was increased. And in that process, there emerged 16 Mahajanpads. And out of these 16, with the passage of time, because of the constant struggle, confliction among them and war among them, they reduced to 4. And the important 4s were the Avanti was there, Vatsa, Kaushal, and this Magad. And ultimately, this Magad defeated rest of the 3 also and became the ruler of the entire country. They ruled the country from east to west to north to south, such a vast country of 2,933 kilometers from east to west. And the western boundary of Chandragupta Maurya touched the present-day Afghanistan. That was the vast area they ruled. And from north to south, it was 3214 kilometers. So the point here is that only 2 persons, one Chandragupta Maurya and second was the Kautilya, they were able to rule such a vast country in those days when the transport and communication was what? Transport was of the bullock carts, horse, chariots, and they were able to run the administration of such a vast country. How it was possible? It was because of the potential, caliber, devotedness, devotion, dedication of the Chandragupta Maurya and the Kautilya. And if we Compare those time with the present time. Today we are having the latest means of transport and communication. In the fraction of second we can contact in any part of the globe, but still we are not united. Just take the example, if 10 persons are traveling in a bus or in a train, they are sitting together. I am very much sure that they are not from one political party. It's very much sure they are not one from one political party. So such a time it is when the 10 persons are not united, and during that particular time they were able to unite the entire country in those transport days and communication means. That was incredible, definitely. And that's why this Mauryan administration gave a glorious culture, a glorious administration to our country, which we are following today also in one way or the other. We have to discuss the administration in different terms, in different fields. First, there is the central administration, provincial administration, military administration, judicial administration, revenue administration, spy administration. These different administrations which we have to discuss. And the important feature of the Maurya administration was that they gave a centralized administration to our country, supported by a bureaucratic setup. In the initial stages, we will discuss one more concept is there, that no doubt Chandragupta Maurya laid the foundation of Mauryan dynasty and ruled up to such a vast area. Throughout the country he ruled except the deep south. Chol Chera Pandya area was not there. Otherwise, most of the country was under the grip of Chandragupta Maurya from east to west and north to south. And he was able to rule such a vast area. In the initial stages, he didn't face the problem of uniting the country, because whatever the country he got, that was already united by the Alexander, who conquered our northwestern part of the country and defeated many monarchies there, and republican form of government was there. He defeated them and united that part of the country. And in the inner part of the country, the Magad emerged from the different Janpads. Ultimately, Mahajanpad emerged. So before Chandragupta could get the steering in his own hands, the country was united. Internally, it was united by the different Magad dynasty. Harinak dynasty was there, the Bimbisar, Ajat Shatru, and then the Nanda dynasty. So Chandragupta Maurya got a country which was already united, but he gave a very good administration to the country. That was the importance of Mauryan dynasty. One thing. Secondly, we have to discuss one more point, and that is that was the concept of divine theory. Divine theory was there before the Chandragupta Maurya or the Mauryan dynasty, and during the Mauryan dynasty there was the concept of divine theory was there. Divine theory means that where the king was accepted as the representative of God, and that's why king should never be insulted, should always respected, should always obeyed. That is the divine theory, where king is the representative of God. The point on which I want to focus here is that the concept of divine theory and the power of the king was something different during the time period of the Mauryas as compared to the earlier time. Earlier time, king was bound by the law, bound by the positive law, bound by the dharma. He had to follow according to the dharma. It is written in the Mahabharata Shantipur section also that a wicked king who is not ruling his persons well, he is not ruling for the welfare of the people, should be killed like a mad dog. The divine theory concept of Chandragupta Maurya, or the power of the king during the time period of the Kautilya, was different as compared to the power of the king in the earlier time. In the earlier time, king was forced to follow dharma, but in the time period of the Kautilya gave much more power to his king. He was the legislature, executive, and judiciary. All these three capacities reside within the king itself. And it is quite obvious also and quite natural also, because the rulers who ruled before Chandragupta Maurya, they had small area as compared to the area when we compared this area with the Chandragupta Maurya area. Chandragupta had to rule the entire country, and those rulers who ruled before Chandragupta Maurya, their area was divided into different number of Janpads or Mahajanpads, but not the entire country. That's why Kautilya was very much conscious to give more power to his king. That's why he gave unlimited power to the king, and all the executive power, legislature power, and judiciary power was given to the king. Although there was a council of ministers also, but the king was not bound by their decision. First, we have to discuss the central administration. In the central administration, we have to discuss the king and council of ministers. And Kautilya used to say that this king and the council of ministers are the two wheels of a cart. The cart was the empire definitely, and the two wheel, one wheel was of the king and other wheel was of the councils. And there were two councils. One was the council of minister and other was the council of the state. Council of ministers include 3 to 4 members were there, and they were very much important persons for the king, and they were known as the Mahamatyas. King used to run the central administration with the help of these Mahamatyas. Besides this, one council of state was also there, who comprised of 10 to 20 members, and they were just the deputies ministers of these Mahamatyas. In the king council, there were these two councils. One at the central administration, one was the king himself, who was a benevolent despot, who had all the powers, and his powers were boundless. And legislature, executive, judiciary, all power resides within the king. He was the maker of the law, he was the executor of the law. Besides this, he used to perform the works of the judiciary also. That's why he was most powerful person. And he was not forced to go by the advice of the council. If he considered the advice of the council is good for the country, then he can take. Otherwise, he could straightforwardly reject it or refuse them also. One is the council of minister, and second was the council of minister. And there was another one form of government, that was the bureaucratic form of government, and that is the bureaucracy, just like the present time civil servants. That's also important concept in the modern central administration. And the important bureaucrats were Sanidhata, Samharta, Potavadhyaksha, Lavnadhyaksha, Sitadhyaksha, Pradeshta, Ganikadhyaksha, Ashwadhyaksha, Hastinadhyaksha. So Adhyaksh word is suffixed with them, and Adhyaksh means that is the superintendent. So these bureaucrats were acted just like a bridge in between. On the one hand, there was the central government headed by the king alone, and on the other side, there was the council of minister and council of state. So king used to give order to the council of state and council of ministers, and they had to get perform the work through the bureaucracy. So that was the central administration. Different number of officials there, as I just discussed with you people. Just like in the Samharta was there, Sanidhata was there, Pradeshta was there, Vyavarika was there, Potavadhyaksha, Lavnadhyaksha, Sitadhyaksha, different bureaucrats were appointed there to act as a bridge between the central administration of the king and the council of the ministers. Another important aspect of the administration was the provincial administration, because it was not possible for Chanakya or the Kautilya himself to run the administration of such a vast country from east to west and north to south alone. That's why they divided the empire into different number of provinces. Just take the example from present scenario. Just take the example of an academic institution of 10,000 students strength. So it is not possible for the owner or the management to run the entire administration by their own. That's why they divide the college or that institution into different number of blocks: arts block, science block, commerce block, management block, different blocks. And then they appoint different directors for each block. The director then appointed different deputy directors for the same block. The deputy directors appoint different HODs. HODs appoint the faculties. So this was the academic staff. Besides this, a non-academic staff is also there. That's how the entire management and the owner would be able to run the administration of an institution with capacity of 10,000 students. So that was a small institution. But here was the concept of the country. How they were able to run the administration of a vast country. So first the central administration was there, which was under the king himself, council of minister and council of states, and the bureaucratic set was there, the superintendents was there. Now this central administration divide the entire empire into different provinces: eastern, western, northern, southern, central. Eastern was known as the Prachyapat with capital Takshila, with capital Patliputra. Western was known as the western capital was known as the Ujjain, and north capital was the Takshila, and the fourth, that the southern, its capital was the Suvarnagiri, and one more Kalinga was there, its capital was Toshali. So they divided the whole entire empire into different number of provinces. and each province was kept under one particular official whose designation was Kumar, and he was from royal blood. It is not again possible for the Kumar to run the entire administration of such a vast area of the province of the east, west, north, south, or the central. So again they divided, these Kumars divided their particular province into different number of Mahamatyas, and these Mahamatyas further subdivided the area into the Dronmukhs. The Dronmukhs divided into the Pradeshikas, and then at the lower level, the lower level of the administration was headed by the Gramik, that was the head of one village. Number of Gramiks were under one Gopa, who was in charge of 10 to 20 villages. Above Gopa, there was the Khartvik, who was in charge of around 200 villages. Above Khartvik, there was the Dronmukh, who was in charge of around 400 villages. And above this Dronmukh was this one Sthanik. That was the district head, and there were around 800 villages under the Sthaniks, and above the Sthanik there was the Mahamatyas, and above the Mahamatya there was the Kumar, and above the Kumar there was the king himself. So that was the centralized administration of the provincial administration of the Mauryas. We can see here at the top level it was the Kumar. So if they divide the entire empire from east to west and north to south into 5 provinces, east, west, north, south, central, so there were 5 Kumars. They were from the royal bloods, and these Kumars had to govern their respective areas, so they appointed different Mahamatyas to govern. Mahamatyas governed, then Mahamatyas appointed different Sthaniks according to their districts, and under each Sthanik there were around 800 villages. Sthaniks further divided into the Dronmukhs, those who had 400 villages. Below the Dronmukh there was the Khartvik, 200 village, Gopa, 10 to 20 village, and then the Gramik. So that was the entire administration of one province, eastern province. Same was the case in the western, same was the case in the northern, same was the case in the central and the southern area. Now you can understand. Now you can understand very well. Just imagine the map of India in front of you. On the eastern side, on the map you can just imagine that Patliputra, that was the capital, and at the capital there was the king with his council of minister and the council of state. Just like the present time, we can say that prime minister with his cabinet ministers and deputy ministers, they are ruling the entire country from the Delhi, from the Sansad, they rule the entire country. So their important place, just like the Sansad was the Patliputra from that particular time, there the king with his council of minister and council of state used to run the entire country from there. So from Patliputra, they ruled how? By dividing the entire empire into different provinces. Eastern province, western province, northern province, southern province, and the central province. So that's how the whole empire was divided. Now take the example of one particular province. The provincial head was known as the Kumar. Under the Kumar there were Mahamatyas. Under the Mahamatya there were Sthaniks, Dronmukh, Kartik, Gopas, and then Gramik. That's how the empire of the whole province was being governed by the Mauryas. Either it was the eastern, western, northern, southern, or central. So I think that now the central administration that was run by the king, council of states, council of minister, then the provincial administration is clear to you people. Then we have to discuss another important field of the administration, and that was the revenue administration. Students, Kautilya, a graduate from Takshila University, a statesman of renowned personality, a statesman, bureaucrat, a patriot, a character of versatile genius, the Kautilya. And we have seen here that the whole administration, the central administration, provincial administration, with so much of a long list of bureaucrats, including the Sanidhata, Samharta, Putavadyaksha, Lamnadyaksha, Sitadyaksha, Ashwadyaksha, Hastindyaksha. So all these needed, and they used to give salary to them, and they had a standing army. So Plutarch and Pliny says that their infantry was of 6 lakh, several thousands of thousands. They had elephants and horses that we will discuss in the military administration. So to give them salary on regular basis, on monthly basis, they needed a very sound financial system, and that depend on their revenue administration. And for the revenue administration, for the revenue, the land tax was the main source of revenue for the revenue collection for them, and that land tax was from 1 by 4 to 1 by 6 of the produce. And Kautilya divided the land on scientific basis, because it's a common fact that each and every land we can't get the same type of product and the product of the same quality and same quantity. That's why they divided the land into the good land, middling land, and the bad land, and used to collect tax accordingly. That was because of the condition of the land. So first was the land tax, that was 1 by 4 to 1 by 6. Besides this, other important tax was also there, just like direct tax that they used to collect in cash from the different professional. That was a direct tax, and in that direct tax they had to give their 2 days salary per month. That was the tax that was imposed